Hello, welcome pen friends. Welcome to the final video in this series. This is the April 2021 30 Inks 30 Days. I've been taking the inks 5 at a time. So today we're doing day 26 through 30. And each one of these is Parker Quink. We have Parker Quink Green. It's the modern edition, near as I can tell. And then Parker Quink Blue, Parker Quink Washable Blue, Parker Quink Blue Black, and then on the final day, which was yesterday, I'm filming this on May 1st, it was Parker Quink Black. So we're going to go right into the ink journal, and we'll look at how things came out in there, and we'll look at some comparisons. I think the panel is, we're going to, after I show you both of these blues, then we'll do the panel together because that's how it turned out. They turned out to be so much overlap that it got confusing. So we'll do that together, but the other three will have unique comparison panels. And then at the end, I'm going to talk about how it came out, you know, which one was my overall favorite and what purchases I ended up making yesterday because of this challenge. It was a lot of fun this time. I've always had fun with this, but this was particularly fun for me. So let's get right into the ink journal. Of course, at this point, I kind of assume that everybody knows that this is a challenge that's presented by Ink Journal, and I always link them whenever I do the description for each of these videos, because you won't want to miss, if you haven't heard of them, you won't want to miss it, because they are the home of the Ink Flight, and I used to subscribe to that back when I wasn't quite as loaded down with ink samples, and I just loved it, and I still get tempted to subscribe. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to say before I start is that all 5 of these samples was sent by the same pen friend, and he knows who he is. Thank you very much for these samples. And the other thing is that I used Lamy Broad nibs with everything except for the final ink. And when it came to Parker Black, I wanted to see it in what I will be writing with it, which is a TWSBI medium nib for my bullet journal and my daily process journal. So that was the only deviation. These 3 pen bodies all have Lamy Broad nibs on them, so that's how that went. I just wanted to say that before I forget. So first up was Parker Green, and right away, as soon as I looked at it, I realized that it had a lot of blue in it, and it looked more teal to me, to my eye. And of course now here in Corpus Christi, we're dealing with this bad weather that I just can't keep waiting and waiting for it to go away. We're going to need to just look at these all under the same conditions and kind of draw our conclusions despite the weather. But this is really pretty. I happen to really like this color, and so it didn't bother me that it wasn't pure green, or, you know, that it was different. And then I did a bunch of research, and I ran across a video, which I'll link for you, by YouTuber ODE, and he talked about how there are 2 versions of this ink. A modern one and a vintage one, and that accounts for that big difference that people will say, well, I think there's something wrong with your ink or whatever. But there are 2 different ones out there, even though this is modern, it's also discontinued. So it's really interesting if you have the time and you're interested to watch his video. I learned a lot from that. But I see a lot of shading, and I'm going to hold it up because, whoops, the only chance for you to really be able to see that is for me to, oh my goodness, see, the lighting's so bad you could see the microphone cords and everything else. Don't even get me started on my technical problems. I don't like it. But anyway, I'm going to be working on these things. So it shades really well, and it's beautiful. It's a color that it gets kind of close even to Monteverde, California teal. Not quite, but it's got that. There's something else. I think it's either soft mint or some other color that it reminded me of too, that I really ended up liking it. This is the chromatography, and of course it's very typical, and it doesn't have any water resistance, but I could see it cleaning out really well, which kind of informed my choice when I went ahead and put it in a brand new all clear demonstrator, my Opus 88 Coloro Clear. I'm not worried about that because I know it's going to clean out good. So, okay, let's look at the comparison panel on this ink. Okay, so it's right in the middle, Parker Green, And I thought it was just really amazing how much it looked like both of these. Now I can see there's more saturation, more darkness in Robert Oster Peppermint, but it really, really reminded me of it. And then also Diatramenous Petrol has that same flavor where you're sort of trying to see it as a green or blue, but when you go to file your cards like this, that's when you really realize, oh, wait a minute now, should this go in blue or green or teal? You know, which a lot of times I know if I can't find a card that I know I have, it's because there might have been a little bit of confusion. So I also thought that Sitz Krusnock Palm Green was very reminiscent of it. And I don't know if you're familiar with that ink, but that's another one where I start going back and forth between green and blue. And then, well, of course, Diamine Aurora Borealis has more blue in it, and it's teal, definitely teal, but it does look different, but it still reminded me. And then, well, I thought that Mint Turquoise was going to be, you know, similar, but it's a much lighter. And of course, this is all surface. This isn't in a nib, so. And then I was really quite surprised at Ferris Wheel Press Mirror Mirror of Moraine. That came right out as a comparison as well. Twisby Emerald Green, I know, just kind of veers away from it, but look at the middle part. The chromatography ended up kind of almost matching, and I do not remember why I got out Lamy Green. I don't know why. I must have had something brilliant I thought I was going to say, but between, you know, day 26 and May 1st, I don't know. But here it is, and I think that there's just so many pretty ones to pick from, since we probably can't get this unless we find it from somebody that's hoarded some, and that happens. You know, it can happen, but most likely you'd be looking for something that was similar if you want to purchase some. So let's go ahead and move to day 27, and that's when we go into looking at the Parker Quink Blue inks. Oh, I was going to talk about, oh, well, there was nothing to talk about availability-wise in terms, I couldn't really find it. And I did understand it to be discontinued. So, I mean, that just doesn't mean it isn't available anywhere in the world, but that was my kind of conclusion, was it would be hard to find. So we'll move on. Okay, so day 27, I started the first of the 3 blue inks with Parker Quink Blue in my Lamy Vista with the broad nib. And I did find out that this was available at Van Ness for a 57 ml bottle for $12. And cats are doing something I need to check out. Okay, these cats are more fed up with the weather than I am. I mean, it's just because they're not used to rain at all. We were in a drought for so long, but I'm really excited and happy about the rain. It's just that, oh my goodness, they're driving me nuts. Anyway, so I felt like this was a very pleasant blue. It's pretty, and in the splatter, I did have quite a bit of red sheen, which was kind of surprising. I thought, oh my goodness, that's pretty neat. So I think when I left to find out what the cats knocked over, I was talking about where I found the ink. And it had a 5-pack of cartridges for $6, a 4 ml sample for $2.60. That was at Van Ness. And on their website it says medium flow, well behaved, safe for any pen, including vintage. So that's amazing, and maybe why I haven't had quite as much exposure to this brand before, because I only have 3 vintage pens if you count the one that I have that doesn't operate. It's a family heirloom, and it won't, well, I can dip it, but I can't really fill it. Oh my goodness, a partridge in a pear tree. I just found this to be cheerful and flow well, and I like the fact that it's a really affordable ink. It looks like it turned out to be 21 cents a mil based on that bottle. It definitely looks like it will wash out just fine, and this was the chromatography. Okay, so I do have more water tests, but I want to do that when I get all done with the 3 blue inks. I want to show these side by side, so I don't want to forget. Remind me. Okay, and we will look at the panel too when we get done with the next one, which is Parker Washable ink, Blue. So let's go ahead and we'll get that tile. Okay, so Parker Washable Blue let's see, because of doing this little technique here with the speedball, we can look at them side by side. It is lighter, but I was surprised that it was subtle. It wasn't like with the ink I have, with my sample anyway, it wasn't a really drastic drop down, but I can see it, and you probably can too, how it is lighter. Oh, it's hard to show, but even in the numbers you can see that how much lighter it is. Whoops. And if we put them together, we can also see that. You can see it better in the middle where the water hit. You can definitely see that the water made a bigger impact, and I try really hard to do them exactly the same because I want to know, I want to do everything timing wise as similar as I can so that it's exact same paper, exact same timing, that kind of thing. So all right, let's move that one because we don't want to get too confused. So again, this is from the same pen friend that sent me all 5, and he is a Parker Quink ink expert, so not to be cryptic or anything. I needed to check and see. I wasn't sure if it was okay to mention his name, but okay. So Pen Chalet has the 2-ounce bottle, which I think equates to 57 ml, for $9.60, and Amazon had it for $8.71. Now sometimes I balk about buying ink on Amazon. It depends on the seller. It depends on factors where I just want to make sure I'm getting a legit thing. And it's not that I don't trust Amazon, it's that sometimes I have issues there. And I don't know whether that, I think that was shipped directly from Amazon. It wasn't coming from overseas, I don't think. So anyway, that made it, with the price from Pen Chalet, I think it made it, which price did I use? I'm asking you and you don't know. Well, if it's 17, yeah, it was 17 for all 3. I must have gone by the Pen Chalet price. So I'm going to trust that I did. And I had that in my Lamy next with the broad nib. And I said I didn't expect to like this one because I had seen Vita's review, and I think Vita R, and she got hers out of a cartridge, and I think it was much more washed out than this. This is pretty nice. I mean, it's still readable blue. It doesn't disappear on the Tomoe River paper, and it was real pretty. So let's go ahead and do the panel, which will be for both Parker Blue and Parker Washable Blue, and they'll be on the same panel, and we'll look at all the blues that I had in that zone. Okay, doing this, I just happened to think I'm being really ridiculous, but anyway, I wanted the 2 in the middle, the Parker Blue and Parker Washable Blue. I wanted us to be able to compare them, and there wasn't, since I'm into the bright kind of turquoises, and I am not into anything that's too light, like even the Franklin Christoph would be too light for me. And, well, the Parker Washable Blue didn't turn out to be too light. I could read it really well. And I do remember I liked this one, but that's about as light as I go. So that's why I wasn't finding just tons of choices to compare to. Actually, Cross Blue is one that I probably should have had on this 30 Inks 30 Days. Pen friend Matthew sent me a sample, and I really want to explore that. I'm going to have to start putting them aside for either June or September right now so I don't forget the ones that I haven't done yet. So I thought Noodler's Hudson Blue has a lot of permanence, which makes it way different than everything else. But it kind of, I don't know, it kind of reminded me. It fell maybe in the middle of the 2 or something. But having all that permanence, that's kind of cool. Anyway, you can see how they kind of compare. Sort of, I'd call this a medium blue. And it's bright and cheerful, and then this is lighter, but I didn't have a whole lot in this zone. That's why I went ahead and did it this way. But it surprised me because I wasn't sure I'd like either one, and I didn't think I'd like the Washable Blue, but it's quite nice, and it's very affordable, and you could put it in a pen that you were really not wanting to stain, or a vintage pen. You'd be so okay with that. Let's see, and we'll still reserve these water tests because I have one more blue in the family, or, to look at, but it's going to have its own ink panel. So let's move on to day 29. Okay, so day 29 was Parker Quink Blue Black, And I already knew I liked it because I had also, pen friend Matthew had sent me a sample, and I had used it in a stub nib and another pen. I knew I liked it already. And but I hadn't worked it like this. I hadn't done all these tests before. So it was great to include in the 30 Inks 30 Days. But I like blue black, and I don't like my blue blacks to be super, super dark, like almost black. I like them to have more blue. So I was in luck with this, because this is on the lighter or bluer side of the blue blacks that I've studied anyway. And I really, really like this. This is my favorite of the Parker Blue inks that I've tried, Parker Quink Blue inks. And Pen Chalet had it 57 mil for $9.60, sorry. And I do have a couple blue black inks that I do really like. So I was surprised that this got my attention the way it did. But it's really nice. It's a really rich color, and it has... let's see, what would you call that? I'm not actually seeing it as red. It kind of looks, it's a dark sheen that I'm having trouble identifying just what color it is. Maybe it's just like a darker blue, but it almost has a bronze look in it. I mean, that's really hard for me to describe. Hadn't really given it much thought. But it's got a little bit of water resistance, and we're going to see, because now is the time, I think, to show you all four of these. Why are there four, come to think of it? Oh, well, because I did the black one too, and it looked blue. Okay, it's time. Let me move this out of the way. Let's just look at how it came out. And then we'll do the panel for that ink. Okay, that's not fair. That's Parker Quink Black. So this is Parker Quink Blue Black. That had the most amount of water resistance of the blue ones. This is Parker Quink Washable Blue. And this is Parker Quink Blue. Now this is the technique I learned from Brian at the Pen Thing. And okay, you can go ahead and look at this too if you want. Parker Quink Black left blue. So that was cool. But we'll talk about that when we talk about the final ink. So I don't know what I'm doing. Basically. But this I liked. This was really cool. I would say Parker Quink Blue and Parker Quink Washable Blue did the exact same thing. You can still see a very faint remnant of what was written there. Hardly anything, and definitely it disappeared. And then the Parker Quink Blue Black kind of acted the way blue blacks often do and left a significant amount of readability there. And this is a 20-minute water test. So I write on these samples. This is Rhodia 80 GSM grid paper. And I write on it and just let it dry. In fact, I think I timed it for 10 minutes. And then I dunked them all and timed it for 20 minutes. So they got the exact same treatment, the same timing and everything. So just for what that's worth, that's how it came out. And I like doing stuff like that. It had been a while since I used Brian's technique there. So, okay. So I think it's time for the, it's time for the ink panel for this blue black. And it's going to look a little funny because the traditional blue blacks are darker. But to me, that's just part of the discovery. So let me see if there was anything else that I forgot to tell you. Of course, you can read this, but 17 cents a mil because I'm going by that Pen Chalet price. That's one of my favorite places to order, along with Vanessa and Goulet and lots of other places too. But still, that is a really good place to order ink. So, and that was the chromatography. It had a lot of turquoise in the top, and you could kind of tell that blue kind of stayed behind. So let's look at a comparison panel. So now the sun wants to come out. Okay. Everything's going to be a little bit different from start to finish. Okay, Parker Quink Blue Black is in the middle. And as you can see, it's brighter, and the camera does that too, and the lighting. But we're treating everything the same. It's on the same watercolor paper. It's the same lighting and everything else. So I thought that of the blue blacks, it came closest maybe to the Noodler's Black and Blue. which to me is more blue, and that's the way Parker Quink Blue Black looks too to me. Diamine Blue Black has a different tone to it, but it's lovely. Oh my gosh, it's pretty. And then TWSBI Blue Black with quite a bit more permanence there is a dark traditional, like Fountain Pen Revolution. It's dark. And there are plenty more, but these are just the ones I picked. I tried to kind of get a, I don't know, TWSBI Midnight Blue. I guess that just struck me that was kind of the opposite, and I wanted to put it in there. And then this Pilot Iroshizuku Shinkai, that's a beautiful ink too. So, you can probably see there's just a lot of variety, but it was a lot of fun. This was really nice. And I just happened to like it where it's, if I'm going to go for a blue black, I do kind of like that brightness. And I remember loving Fountain Pen Revolution Blue Black. The flow of that ink was just amazing. And the TWSBI Blue Black, and it's iron gall, I think, but I still really like it. I guess I'd have to be a little careful what I put it in, but I haven't had problems yet. So maybe it's just good pen maintenance, and depending on what we put it in. Okay, so there's one more ink left for day 30. So I don't very often do black ink studies or reviews, but I think maybe that should change because this was a lot of fun. This is Parker Quink Black, and I put it into my TWSBI Eco with a medium nib because that is what I would use, and so I thought, I need to stick with what I'm gonna want to use this black ink for, which is not for letter writing, it's for journaling. So that's the reason I deviated from the nib that I normally use. Pen Chalet also had this ink, 57 mil for, which is about 2 ounces for $9.60. And I admit my experience with black ink is very limited because I went in for a giant bottle of Noodlers way early on. Let's see, is it here? It's here somewhere. Yeah, here it is. This great big, I think it's a 4.5 ounce bottle of Noodler's Heart of Darkness. So when you do that, you kind of, oh my goodness, it's going to take a while even sharing that to use it all. So I hadn't bought any other black inks. I've had samples sent to me, and I've actually purchased a few black samples of ink, but I haven't, it just isn't my area, my forte at all. But I really enjoyed this because what I found was this wrote in my Leuchtturm without bleeding through. I did sort of disrupt it there, so I think it needed a little time to dry on Tomoe River paper, but that's pretty typical. And it just, now this had a lot of blue in it. Okay, I'm quite sure you heard that, and I think that might be the Blue Angels. We're not under attack. There was going to be an air show, so either they're practicing or... Wow, that took me right back to Vance Air Force Base in Enid, Oklahoma. That was all the time. The Blue Angels. Yeah, Manuel came out of the other side of the house. Okay, all is well here. What was I saying? Well, it's good that they got to fly because it's just been such ugly weather. This is just pretty. It's got a lot of blue in it. It's got, the chromatography shows that. And so does when you introduce water, that's what happens. You can see all that blue. And when you put it in the water test, I had to ask myself, wait a minute, did I use the right one? And yep, I did. This is the Parker Quink Black, but the remnant is blue when you, when you introduce the water. So that's how it came out. Trying to see if that was a little bit intense. Of course, if you couldn't hear it, then I'm going to sound like an idiot because I stopped talking for like almost a minute. And yeah, it was flying pretty low too. Oh my gosh. He's gone outside, I think, with the camera. We didn't realize we'd have front row seats. Okay, I wrote down the next 30 inks, 30 days is June 2021, and I may wait until September. I really enjoy the September 30 inks, 30 days, but this time it was fun too. Let's see if we can see any of that sheen. There is sheen on this too, and it's dark. It's not a, it doesn't really look red. It almost looks like, well, kind of not purple either, but there's a lot of interest in this ink. I mean, for the price and the type of ink it is, it's just amazing to me that it would have this much interest. So let's compare it to some other black inks. Okay, this is great that the sun decided to come out and cooperate, because I think it's going to give us maybe a little bit more opportunity to see these black inks compared side by side. This is my Noodler's Heart of Darkness, right below the Parker Black. Parker Quink, I should have written that right on there. I hadn't been doing that, but it's Parker Quink Black. You can see quite a bit more water resistance in the Noodler's Heart of Darkness. But this is a more intense black, and I believe you can see that. I'm seeing it in my screen. And then here's Twisby Black. I think they're coming again, but not quite as low. And whew, that was something. Monteverde Onks. It's really freaking Coco out. He's walking low like he's under attack, and he's looking out the windows, running from window to window. And then, let's see, this is the Jacques Arbon Noir Abyssal. And that's kind of intense too. You can kind of see the blue comes out here, and Lamy Obsidian, that kind of a green comes out of that ink. So that's, and then down here, Sitz Krusnock Granite Black, you kind of get almost a purpley color that comes out. Same with the Monteverde Onks. But this is just really fun, and it makes me realize that I could do more with the samples that I have. And well, I have a little more to say about that too as when we wrap up, but this was the water test that we already looked at. So it's got some water resistance, and wow, it was a great way to end, because I've been writing with gray inks, but it's fun to see how this looks in my Leuchtturm, and it looked perfectly fine. And also in my Peter Popper Press notebook, I was using it last night just to kind of get a feel for it, and it wasn't bleeding through either one. So it was very well behaved. I can't really say that about the Noodler's Heart of Darkness. There's no way I could write with a medium nib in my Leuchtturm with that. At least not the medium nibs that I have. So let's go back then, and I'll talk to you a little bit about my very favorite ink of the whole challenge of the 30 inks, 30 days, and also the purchase that I made yesterday. So be right back. Okay, so here we are back on the spread where I have each of the inks, and my favorite is still Sailor Manuel Accaby. That color just sings, it speaks to me. And in the ink journal, this is what it looked like, and I'll link you to the other to the like day 1 through 5 if you want to see the particulars on this one. But it's just a gorgeous ink, and I love it, and I already had a bottle of it, so that is probably why I still felt like I needed to order, oh my goodness, a bottle of ink at the end of the challenge. Is kind of a, also I finished another challenge. I finished a 30-day Dr. Benjamin Hardy's Future Self program too. And I'll link about that in case you're interested, but that was a kind of a motivational thing. So beyond the fact that Sailor Manuel Accaby was my favorite, the other one that I just could not get out of my head was Robert Oster Bronze. And I decided, oh, I'm going to have a bottle of that. I just would kick myself if I couldn't then later get a bottle. So I went to order this, and oh, here's Coco. You okay, Coco? Is the air show almost over? He's really rattled by all that. So when I went to order this, I ended up ordering Parker Black and Parker Quink Black. Hello, Coco. Just be good now. We're almost done. Say hello and goodbye, all at the same time. So I ended up ordering 3 bottles of ink, which I don't have any business doing, but I did it. I was still working with channel funds. It's okay, Coco. I just need one more half a minute to finish. Yes, I know. You're a good boy. Okay, I'll be right with you. Parker Quink Black, Parker Quink Blue Black, and Robert Oster Bronze will be coming from Pen Chalet. It was nice to be able to get these all in one place, because actually then you save on shipping. So I think that's it. Which was your favorite? If you did your own, then which of your own inks was your favorite? And if you just were looking at mine, I wonder which one you like the best. Oh my goodness. I'm telling you what. Okay, I think that's it though. I'm almost at 30 minutes and I've got some technical things to work through, and hopefully our sound held out, and I'm just really fun to be able to bring this to you, but hopefully that those airplanes didn't drown out the entire thing. There they go again. Actually, I like hearing that, but it brings back a lot of memories of being young and working on an Air Force base, a pilot training base. So, and I did not plan this. I thought they'd canceled the air show. I really did. We've been having terrible weather. Okay, I'm going to say goodbye now, and the rest will be in the description box and the comments. Don't miss the description box. I'll do as much as I can so you'll know whatever I can tell you about these inks and refer to the videos that I was mentioning. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later. Bye.